Hey there, welcome to another Save Your Books live restoration video. This is the winner of the end sheets contest? Quiz, no. In any case, this one won. The brown one was nice, the brown paper. I put that somewhere. But actually this one would have been more historic. I mean, because you can see the original end sheets were very plain, and so that would have been that way to go. And I was like, this is my book. I'm keeping this book. I'm going to make it more decorative for me and for you, because you guys picked it. So great. Let's see. So the book, as you recall, Fairy Tales, is missing the front blank sheet. It's probably also missing other title page things and all that, but we're just going to ignore those, and we're going to put a blank sheet attached to the end sheet and then put it on. I'm going to bring the camera down here and show you what I'm up to with the end sheets. Okay, so interesting. All right, so put the covers aside. And one thing I wanted to show you is that this paper was on a roll that was like this. And so it looks like it would be against, that what I folded here would be against the grain. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Oh, the other way. There we go. See how that works. This zooming thing is tricky. I'm trying to do it so that the camera's facing the correct direction this time so things aren't backwards, but that seems to be harder for some reason. Okay, let's try this. All right, what I was going on about is that this looks like the grain is going the wrong direction, but it's only because it was on that roll. So here's the roll, how it was stored. And I just want to show you that one easy way to see what the proper grain direction is to just spray one side of the paper, and it will relax and curl into the proper direction. Aha. So as you can see, it was the other way from what we thought it was, just from being on the roll. So never trust a roll of paper when it's curling, because you just have to know what it's doing. So here, I'll show you with this. Where am I? Here I am. All right. Do that again this way, and it just relaxes and wants to curve that other way. Okay. Well, I better do this one too, so it can all be together. Hi, Jordan. Okay, so let's see. The next thing I'm going to do is to attach the marbled paper to another sheet of the blank. This is the Antique End Leaf Dove Gray, and I already attached it to the back, just kind of get ahead of what's going on here. And oh, I didn't relax these pages. I kind of feel like they're kind of shockingly curved. So let's kind of fix that. All right. So I went ahead and I attached these, there we go, to there. And when I was gluing this sheet to this sheet, I made a mistake, and I was gluing with some catalog paper that I had. And I just want to show you one of the reasons kind of not to do that is that the catalog coloring just kind of stuck to the paper here where I got a little bit of glue. Didn't mean to. And so I decided to put this one in the back. And I could scrape this off. I mean, it's on with PVA, so scraping it off is possible. And I'll work on that later. And also I decided to leave the information about the end sheet on visible in the book, which is interesting. You don't have to do that because it's like, that's not exactly pretty, but hey, information. So there it is in the back, and now I'll show you how I got there using strips of butcher paper instead of the catalog stuff that I had going on there. These are rough cuts. I just wanted to mention that. They're quite a bit larger than the actual height and width of the book because you want to trim it exactly to the book and you don't want to worry about it while you're kind of in the midst of it. So you can glue this to this or this to this, but we're gluing one to the other. We're just tipping them together, and in a very small way. Like I'm just doing like a 1/16 of an inch here, maybe an 1/8. And I've got my PVA. And you want to avoid getting glue underneath your guard strip. That's what this is called, the guard strip. So you kind of brush away from it. And get this one out of the way. And flip this over. Oops, that's right. And I'm just tipping them together. Pretty much dead even, both edges. I'm noticing that there's some glue residue on my work surface. I'm just going to grab a new sheet of butcher paper. I have a whole roll under the desk here. It seems to be a good way to do that. So now I've got that attached, and I'm going to flip this plain sheet around. And this plain sheet is now, it can go onto the board of the book, or it can be ripped off later, so it can be like an extra paste down, but it'll be trimmed so you won't see it. In any case, let's see the next thing. Rough cut, grain direction, attach blank. Yeah, so at this point, you can either trim this exactly, head and tail, and then just trim the foredge, or you can attach it and then trim the head and tail and then the foredge. And I can't remember which way I did the last ones. Yeah, I think I'll show you how to just trim it exactly. That'll be interesting. So the first thing to do is to get a straight edge along the top of whatever you're working on. I'm just going to go use the board shear, but you can use a whatever you have. Board shear. Okay, I just quickly cut that on my board shear. I'm just making sure I got the whole thing. And now I want to put it up against the shoulder and see when I can see the same amount of space all along the shoulder. And this is dead even right here. Is this flush, or is it higher than the text block edge, or is it lower? So I'm looking here and I'm looking here. And I can just scoot it down a little bit and kind of see what's going on. And it actually is dead flush. When there's the same amount of space that I can see at the shoulder, this is actually even, which makes things simpler. So if it wasn't even, if, for instance, and it's harder to see. I'll show you with this just so you can see. If when this edge was flush, I could see space here, then I would have to, scoot it up and change the angle here so that it was dead flush when this is straight. That's the key. All right, So since that is even, I can just go here to the next step, which is taking this evenness here, moving it a little bit away from the edge of the spine, and I'm just using my fingers to make sure it's really even. And then I go down here to this end, and I'm going to mark where I'm going to cut off. So I'm going to cut the pencil mark off so I can scribble all over here and come right up to the edge of the book. So it's just easier to cut the mark off rather than mark it exactly or mark it on the inside. And then I'm going to do the same thing this way, only, I mean, I have to be able to see the mark, so I'm going to, or the edge of the page, so I'm going to go all the way to the edge of this paper. And once again, I'm marking up to the edge. So I'm going to cut that off, and then that will be exact. I'll be right back. Oh, no, you know what? I'm not going to use my board shear. You guys probably don't have board shears. Well, some of you do, I know. But this is super easy. So we just use my board shear as my crutch. That. Then I'm going to make this fold to go up the shoulder. And you can either, you know, just actually use your fingers and roll it up a little bit, or you can use a straight edge, and you would actually need a bone folder rather than a Teflon folder for this, because you would just score it, and then you can use the folder to push it up against the ruler, which is also very nice. And the amount that you want to have this fold is so that the top of this edge is exactly at the top of this edge. They need to be lined up perfectly. And the reason for that, I love reasons. The reason for that is if it's lower than the top of the edge and you try to open it, it won't kind of go all the way. It'll be, and once you've trimmed this, it'll be too short on the end of the board. And if it's over the top, if it sticks out over the top, then it's just, well, you get the hint. It's not ideal. But now that we have this exact, we can just attach it. And I like to glue both sides of a thing when possible. So I'm going to flip this over so I can glue the back side of it. And you want to have it be, oh wait, I'm just remembering. Which side am I having up and down? All right. Okay, so in this scenario, I have the glued part going up onto the book. And that is certainly one way to go. And now I can't remember which way I wanted it to go. I might flip that around. No, we'll go like that. Oh, you can't flip them around. Once you've done it, you can't change it unless it's actually a square book. I'm muddling around here. Yep, that's just interesting. Okay. Well, it is what it is. I will, when I do I'm going to do like a blog post course kind of thing about this whole fairy tales book, and I will explain myself later because I'm like having to wrap my head around it right now, and I'm kind of messing up just in my head, just kind of going, So the part that's attached, do I want that to go onto the board or do I want that to stay with the book? And there's a convention and I can't remember what it is. And it's not going to make a huge difference, so I'm going to ignore whatever convention it is right now and just attach it the way I was going along. Make sure the mull isn't trapped beneath the paper, and constantly double check your alignment and keep your fingers clean. Where the heck did I put my bowl? There it is. Aha. And as I'm squeezing, I got a tiny little drop of glue, not much. You shouldn't get much, if anything, coming out the ends. All right, so that's going okay, and it's lined up. Now I can just trim that foredge. If this were a tight back book, I wouldn't trim the foredge. I would fold it over because when you're pasting down the end paper, you need a little extra of the paste down for those tight joint books. But this is a case bound book, so I can actually just trim it. Alright, fun little scraps, I might just keep those. Alright, and once again you're left with the weird little corners that you can trim down, and we talked about that last time, and so I don't need to do that right now. Anyway, so it's looking good. Look, end sheets are on the book, yay! And the next thing to do is line the back of the book, other than trimming those, which I'll just do later. That can be done at any time. Well, no, it can't be done at any time. It has to be done before you do the paste down. Now I've got this sheet of paper that you're not going to see, and so it's actually protecting the marbled paper here. And sometimes I'll just write a W for waste sheet, so you know that you're removing those later, or that they're going to be part of the paste down and they won't be seen. All right, so next step is the lining of the spine, the text spine. And I've got some end bands here. These have a strange bamboo core, which I've never really liked, but it does keep it nice and neat. I found that when I remove the core, that then this gets all floppy, so you kind of have to leave that in there. Anyway, it trims off easily, so no big deal. This is a nice brown and white, which is pretty classic, and I thought it would go well with both this and the end sheets. It's another, chance to do some design elements. I could choose to do a fancier sewn end band, but I don't think that, I feel like the stripy thing actually will go well with everything. I'm not concerned about that. So let's see if I can get this in a press. We can take a look. And I'll just use this, actually. All right. Whenever you're putting a book in a press, double check where the head of your book is, kind of no matter what. Just always know where it is. And in kind of an ideal word, you actually mark the head. So there's the head, it's an X. Now I'm not going to be constantly going, wait, was this the head of the book? It's really only vital when you're dealing with putting ribbons in the book, or there might be some other reasons, but at least that for ribbons. So all right. There's got to be a better way. This whole new camera angle is throwing me off. I gotta figure it out. Sorry for all the ruckus here. I'm just gonna try and make this so you can see it better. Okay. That's better. That's in the shot. Okay. I finally get it to be not backwards, and now I'm just struggling with the whole camera thing. Oh well. I put this in the press and I'm noticing that it's very lopsided. See if you can see that. The text block is pretty lopsided. So I'm gonna get my hammer, loosen that up a bit. And I just need that to be a little more even. Is looking better. See if you can see that. Yeah, better. That's a very quick rounding of the spine. All right, so now I'm going to cut my end bands to the correct width, starting with a nice clean line that's at a little bit of an angle in toward the spine so that it doesn't stick out over the edge no matter what. And then go over here, and it's actually nice with the stripes because you can just kind of go, okay, I want the stripes to be within the spine width, and I can see that this brown one is at the right spot. So I can just cut that like that, and then go like that again. We're not talking a huge angle here, just a little. And oh, I'm doubling it, but sometimes the width at the other end is different, so you have to measure both sides. So that one goes there, and this one goes here, and it's probably the same, but you know, not all books are perfectly square. And now I don't want these to look super brand new like they are right now. They just seem to be a little too clean. So I'm going to show you a thing that I've done before is take this distress marker and just I'm aging the end bands. And it's the kind of, you know, optional restoration-y kind of a thing so that the new stuff doesn't look so brand new. And if the pen is too dark going directly on it, another thing that I've done is to take a cotton swab like this and let's do this. I get this wet, and then you can get this, put the ink on here. And then you can apply it that way. Sometimes you have to get a lot on there. Just get that in one area. And it's just more subtle. And you have to do both sides. Boy, this is the kind of thing, it's like, I don't think I ever would have thought to like, you know, talk about this particular aspect, but I'm like, hey, it came up, so anyway. There we go. And frankly, if you were really doing a restoration and matching things exactly, you might put more of this aging stuff on the top edge of the book, because that's exposed to more wear and tear. So, and be sure you look at the edges, because you don't want a white, a suddenly white edge on an old book. It's just, it never looks good. Anyway, I'm just touching it up. I'm just being a little messy. I've noticed that this stuff goes on dark, but it can lighten up a little bit. Oops, I missed a spot. All right, there. And I guess if that was too much, you could try and wipe it off or whatever, or do new ones. In any case, here we are. Did that. Yay. And now I can use the PVA. The only other thing that would go on here, if I wanted a ribbon, this would be the time to put the ribbon on. Oh, and I'm noticing that this mull sticks out a little bit. Don't want the mull sticking up. I always start by just putting a little glue on there. And then this particular end band has a weird flap on this side, and I leave that up because I want the decorative part to be, you know, flat up against the top of the spine. Those little bamboo pieces of wood in there are making this like flip back up again here. It's not an easy attachment because it's fighting it. It drives me crazy. Oh well. It's a nice end band. I shouldn't complain. All right. And get the other one. So I just was trying to bend the bamboo piece of wood in there, and it just kind of snapped. There, I just did it again. But that's never going to be seen. I don't think it's going to matter, and it'll quit doing that flipping up thing on the end, so that could be good. Now remember, I'm leaving that colored end sticking up over the text block, so that when you go like that, it should be flat, not like get to the end and then there's a bump of the decorative colored part. Okay, that is looking good, although I can see on this end that I might want to trim those or color them differently or something later. It seems to be sticking up. That bamboo stuff is just poking out right there. Anyway, all right, so here we've got this, and I'm actually gonna call it a day now, but the next steps will be to line this with some muslin and then do some paper liners, and then we will decide whether or not to do a hollow or to just do a regular case binding with a self-made hollow. And that'll be next time, and I believe I can do this again next Wednesday at 11. So I hope to see you then. Thank you so much for watching. Oh, right. I wanted to come back up here and say bye. Bye. See you next time.